Howdy. It has been a while since I've made one of these full-length videos. Um, I've been in kind of a place here recently, um, for obvious reasons. For those of you who don't know, which I'm assuming will be most of the people who watch this video, I got let go from my job in Arizona at Delaware North. They let me go. Well, I'm not going to tell you why they let me go. I'm not going to tell you on camera. I might tell you after I get hired on to BMW. But even then, I may still be putting my job in jeopardy. So I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you what I did. Some of you saw the video that I took down, so you know exactly what I did. But I was let go for something very, very stupid. To be fair, I shouldn't have done it. But also, my piece of shit roommate shouldn't have thrown me under the bus. So, you know, it is what it is, such is life. But I have been forced to move back to South Carolina, unfortunately. But I gotta be honest with you. I am enjoying being back much more than I thought I would enjoy it. I was gonna make another vlog coming back here, you know, from Arizona to South Carolina. Because I did one from South Carolina to Arizona. I was gonna do one from Arizona to South Carolina. But I was like, you know, I'm too emotional. I'm too distraught over this whole thing. And I really don't want to. So I'm not gonna. So I didn't. I haven't really wanted to upload, but here we are. But I have really enjoyed being back. I've actually enjoyed it a hell of a lot more than I thought I was going to enjoy it. And I really, really wish things would have worked out differently, but they didn't. But there were a few things that I learned when I was out there. This was definitely a life-changing experience. For those of you who are late to the party, I lived in Arizona for 4 months. I lived at the Canyon. I worked a seasonal job, lived and worked there. And I didn't think I was going to have to come back, but here we are. So, with that being said, there was a lot that I learned while I was out there. I learned a lot of lessons. The biggest lesson I think I learned while I was out there is that it doesn't matter how far away you move from home. If you do not deal with the problems that you are dealing with internally, you will take those problems with you. It's just a fact. I think a lot of people think that, you know, they need a drastic life change in order to deal with the shit that is going on inside. And that's what I thought. I was like, you know, if I move however many miles I moved away from home, I'm not sure what the exact number was, but I was like, you know, if I move away, that's gonna fix everything, and that's gonna, like, allow me to start over in this weird way. But I was wrong. I was wrong. I thought that I was gonna be able to start from scratch and deal with everything going on up here just by moving away, and that's not what happened. In some ways, my problems actually got worse. I developed a pretty substantial drinking habit while I was over there. And it's because everybody else was doing it, so I was doing it. So that was one thing. Also, my anxiety really did not get any better. It did not improve like I thought it was going to improve. I ended up in a job that I really, really hated. Like, deeply hated. I loved the location that I was at. I love Arizona. Arizona is gorgeous. If you've never been to Arizona, I highly recommend going. I also made the mistake of, like, going out there without any real plan. I was like, well, I'm going to save money. I'm going to go out here and I'm going to save money, get my travel van, and then go from there. It was a very murky, like, it was a very murky situation where I didn't really have like a set plan or a set goal that I wanted to achieve. It was just kind of, let's go out here and see what happens. And in some ways, that was cool and that was good. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't regret my decision. Even though I had to come back, even though I lost a lot of my money, I don't regret having gone out there. You know, it was certainly a life-changing experience. And I think the coolest part about it was that I made a lot of friends out there that I know are going to be lifetime friends. Um, and that's really cool. You know, that's like a once in a lifetime kind of thing, you know. I am going back one day. My plan in about a year from now, hopefully, fingers crossed, I want to do like a cross country road trip from South Carolina to California because I think that would be really cool. But that's something where, like, whatever job I'm working, whatever I'm doing, I'll have to take like the proper time off of work and really coordinate to make that happen because, you know, I'm gonna need at least like 3 weeks because I want to make pit stops. Like, I want to go to like, I want to stop in, I want to stop in Nashville, and then I want to stop in like, I really want to make a pit stop and spend the day in each state that I go to because I think that would be a lot of fun. You know, I was put on a time crunch when I went to Arizona because I only had like 5 days to get there. So I was only able to spend one day to myself, not doing any driving around, just exploring. And so I decided to go to Roswell, which is in the vlog. You guys can check that out if you haven't seen it already. But I've got to say, best experience of my life. In some ways, it was very challenging though, and it was very hard, and I failed ultimately. And I gotta say, one thing about me, I don't deal well with failure. I'm working on that. I'm trying to get better at that because, you know, I don't take failure well. But the cool thing about failure, the good thing about failure, is that, you know, obviously everybody says it and it sounds very cliche, but like, you learn lessons out of failure. You know, you learn your greatest lessons out of failure. And you know, your character is really put to the test when you fail. You know, um, I really didn't realize just how much I missed home until I came back. You know, sometimes we don't always we don't always realize what we have until we are away from it. You know, and I got really homesick, I would say, right about that first month that I was there. I got really, really homesick at about week 3. And then for the rest of that month, the remainder of that month, like June bleeding into July. And then, you know, as time went on, I started to get a little less homesick. And then I got fired. So, you know, that kind of sucked because it was like just as soon as I was really starting to get into a rhythm and get into a routine, and I was really, really kind of getting my shit together, then I had the rug pulled out from under me. And that really sucked because you know, I was eating healthy at that time. I was eating really well. I was hiking every day. I was hiking the canyon every single day, just really trying to get myself together. And then, boom, just the rug immediately ripped out from under me. I made the mistake of living out of a hotel for like a week, and I lost a lot of money doing that. Um, I really should not have done that. I should have went home immediately as soon as I lost my job because I knew that I was getting fired during the off season. You know, I knew I was getting fired during the off season, and I knew it was going to be really fucking difficult, next to impossible, for me to get another job. I am almost certain that Delaware North will never hire me ever again for any position ever. Xanterra will. They will if I decide to go back, go back out there in June or July. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do. But it's kind of made me reevaluate what it is that I actually want, Um, I wanted a travel van initially because I was like, well, the cost of rent is outrageous. It's outrageous. And on a surface level, that seems like a very valid reason for me to get a travel van in the first place. But I think that part of my problem is that I convince myself that I can't have my cake and eat it too. For most people, their limitations are almost certainly self-imposed. You know, it's uh, it's just one of those things. So that was one thing that I learned. Um, One thing that I've learned, the most important lesson I've learned being back here, is that unfortunately, sometimes in life, in order to get to where you want to be, you have to do some things that you don't want to do to get there. And in my case, I'm going to have to go work third shift at BMW. I have already put in my application. I'm going in for my drug screen and my physical on the 10th. And I am set to work as a production associate on third shift, 10 to 12-hour days. It's really going to suck. I'm not going to have nearly as much time to do YouTube and music as I have had in the past. But I'm still going to have to make it work. It's really not an excuse, because I'm a dreamer, but I'm also a realist, and so I understand that, like, in order to do the things that I really want to do with my life, I have to have the fucking money. I have to have the financial backing and have saved enough money in order to make that happen in the first place. And it fucking sucks. I hate it. Like, I tried to avoid it for the longest time. But at the same time, yeah, it's going to suck and I'm going to hate it. But also, I'm going to be making $24 a fucking hour. And I'm going to be able to save a lot of money in a very short period of time to be able to do the things that I really want to do. People say that money doesn't equal happiness, and I agree with that to an extent, but at the same time, I do believe that money can buy you things that will make you happy. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, because it's like, yes, there are rich people who are miserable. Okay, of course. There are people with money who hate their lives and want to kill themselves. Yes, of course. But at the same time, when somebody who's never had anything manages to acquire money, they're going to be pretty fucking happy. I think that what money can do is it takes off a lot of stress in your life, and it gives you options. It gives you a certain degree of freedom. So, you asked me, do I think money equals happiness? There was a time, and I actually have a video posted on this channel. If you scroll down far enough, you can find it, from a couple years ago. I think it was like a year or two ago that I posted it. And I had my fucking, I had my Andrew Tate sunglasses on and the bald head. I kind of was trying to embody him, I think, a little bit. I was kind of doing this weird, like, red pill influencer thing because I was going through a mental health crisis. And I was like, trying to convince everyone that, yes, you need money in order to be happy. You can't be happy with a little bit of money or no money. You have to have money in order to be happy. I think now, as I've taken a little bit of time to mature and grow, I do think to a certain extent money can buy you happiness. But also, I think people are really going to shit on me for this one, but fuck it, I'm going to say it anyway. I think happiness is a choice to a certain extent. I think we make little decisions every single day that either contribute to our happiness or take away from it. I mean, nature, it didn't cost me a dime to come out here, and this makes me happy. So it's like, you know, I don't think happiness is a straight line. I think we go through phases where we're more happy than other times, you know, and I don't think it's fair to look at happiness as this, you know, black or white issue, because I think, you know, black and white issue, I should say, because I don't believe that happiness is a straight line, you know, and happiness looks different for everybody, you know, but I actually deleted Instagram and Facebook off of my phone because they were making me very unhappy. And I feel a lot happier now that those apps are off of my phone. And mind you, it didn't cost me a dime to use those apps, and it also didn't cost me a dime to get rid of them. You see what I'm saying? So that was another thing. I was like, you know, once I had the $5,000 required, or I should say the $3,000, because it cost me about $2,000 to get my car, all the shit on my car done, like my tires and everything else, my oil change and everything else that I needed to get done on my car. That ran me upwards of $1,000. And then, you know, honestly, and I'm not afraid to admit it, it probably cost me right around $1,000 to get out to Arizona. So by the time it was all said and done and I had gotten out there, I had about $3,000 left. And I will admit, I was a lot happier with $3,000 than I was a year ago, 2 years ago, when I had no fucking money ever and was always poor all the time. But at the same time, it didn't fix everything. It didn't fix everything. It certainly didn't fix my self-esteem. You know, it didn't really make me hate myself less. I'm working on that. I'm working on the whole self-love thing, and I don't know. The reason that I kind of stopped making videos, you know, and there's really no excuse for it, but the reason I stopped making videos as much is because a lot of times I come on here and when I talk, I feel like a fraud. I feel like I'm preaching to all of you to make your lives better and to be happy and healthy and productive, and then my life is fucking falling apart, you know. And I don't ever want to be that. I always want to kind of be honest and be transparent about what's going on. And, you know, I am not put together at all. I'm young and stupid, and I'm kind of an idiot. So I just, I'm not some fucking self-help guru. I'm not some fucking self-help guru. I am just as fucked up as many of you. It's just that, you know, a lot of times, I would say, here more recently, and by here more recently, I mean within like the past year or so, a lot of my videos have been inspirational, but more inspirational along the lines of like, don't do what I've done kind of thing, you know. Yeah. You know, when I came on YouTube, when I first started on YouTube, all of my older videos are gone. They've been deleted off of my channel because quite frankly, they were garbage. But also, like, you know, when I first started here on YouTube, you know, it felt like I only wanted to talk about the good shit. I only ever wanted to be happy and positive and upbeat and try to lift people up. But the problem with that is that I wasn't being completely truthful. You know, I felt like I was being sort of disingenuous in this weird way. I didn't, yeah, I felt like I wasn't being real. I wasn't being authentic. I was being like just sort of disingenuous and not telling the full truth about what was going on with me. And I never want to be that guy. You know, I never want to be the kind of guy who comes on here and just, you know, it's like, oh yeah, everything's great, everything's fine. You know, I would be lying to you if I told you that everything was okay, because it isn't. So, yeah, this is kind of where I am with it. But I just kind of wanted to come on here and give y'all an update about what's been going on with me internally and some of the lessons that I learned while I was 1,300 miles away from home. So, as always, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. If you did not like this video, be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And as always, kiss my ass, and eat it while you're at it. And I will see you all in the next video. Peace, love, and light.